Kawaii. Kawaii salty. Ooh, a camera. Can I see it?
Hi guys, I'm going to show you how to make this cute Dumbo Tsum Tsum coin purse. This is a collaboration with BudgetHobby, so don't miss her adorable plushie tutorial. I'll link it at the end of this video. And if you haven't already subscribed, don't forget to hit the red button in the corner so that you don't miss out on this cute keychain tutorial that I'll be posting later this week. Okay, so let's start making this Dumbo coin purse. We're going to begin by making the ears. You're going to need about 2.5 grams of blue wool and 1.5 grams of pink wool per ear. Start by felting your blue wool into the shape of Dumbo's ear. I created a pattern which I'll link below, and you can use that to guide your ear shape. Once you've formed the blue earpiece, you want to take your pink wool and shape it into the similar shape. This is going to be the inner layer of Dumbo's ear. Once you have your two pink and blue pieces completed, you want to felt them together. After you've felted the pink and blue pieces together, flip your ear over and cover up any pink wool that has poked through the back of the ear. Now you're going to need to make 2 of these ears. Now let's make Dumbo's trunk. You're going to need approximately 4 grams of light blue wool, and you want to felt it into a cylinder shape, but the top half of it should be wider than the bottom. So I'm just adding a little bit of wool here to bulk up the top half of my trunk. And you want to make sure that you have a lot of fluffy loose wool on the top end of the trunk so that you can more easily attach it to Dumbo's face. Now let's make Dumbo's hands. You're just going to need about 1/2 gram of light blue wool for each hand. You want to felt the wool into a flat semicircle shape and leave the top end of it fluffy so you can attach it to Dumbo's head. You're going to need to make 2 hands. Now we're going to make Dumbo's head using wet felting, and this will become the base for the purse. First, cut out the pattern which I've linked below. Then trace it onto a piece of cardboard, and then cut out the pattern. Let's get started with the wet felting process. You're going to need a towel, approximately 15 grams of blue wool for the head, and you want to divide it in half before you begin. You're going to need a plate or a tray, a plastic glove or plastic bag, and a piece of tulle or mesh fabric. First you want to place the tulle on the plate and then place the cardboard on top of the tulle. Then rip up your blue wool into thin pieces. You want it to be really thin and you don't want it to clump together. Layer it on top of the cardboard vertically, and then create another layer of thin wool in the opposite direction, like this. Then you want to take a bottle of hot water with about 2 drops of dish soap and squirt it onto the wool. Then, using your glove or plastic bag, pat it down gently and add a 3rd layer of wool, and then add another layer of wool. Remember, it should be in thin, loose strips so that it doesn't clump together. Add some water and soap, and then pat it down gently with your glove to flatten it out. Now we're going to add a 5th layer of wool and a 6th layer of wool. And remember, you want to alternate the directions that you're placing the wool. Then you want to add some water and soap. Pat it down with your glove, and then cover that up with the mesh and gently rub the wool so that it dampens completely. You may want to add a little more water if you don't have enough. Then lift up the mesh and check to see if there are any sparse areas that need more wool. Then cover up the wool again and then flip it over to the other side. Now we're going to pull this loose wool over the edge of the cardboard and smooth it down with your fingers. Now we're going to repeat the process of adding wool in opposite directions, adding some soap and water until you have 6 layers of wool. Then you want to cover that opposite side with mesh and pat down the water. Dump out any excess water so it doesn't flow over the edge. Flip your piece over and lift up the mesh and fold the excess wool over the edge of the cardboard like you did with the other side. Now we're going to start to wet felt this base. you want to add hot soapy water, as hot as you can stand to touch, and then gently rub the wool through the mesh with gentle pressure for about 5 minutes. You want to use the flat tips of your fingers or the base of your hand. And if the wool gets cold, you want to add more hot water and soap. You can dump out any excess water when necessary to keep the piece hot and prevent the water from flowing over. And just continue to do this. It will mat the wool fibers together. And after about 20 minutes, your wool should be sufficiently matted together so that you can remove the mesh and apply more pressure when you're felting. Now, do you see these loose fibers on top of our wool piece? That means that the wool is not ready yet. So you want to continue felting, adding more hot soapy water and just rubbing the piece. Don't forget to felt the edges. After a while, you should be able to pick it up and felt like this. So it took me about 30 minutes to reach this point, but you might want to try performing a tent test where you pinch the wool and see if it stands up like a tent. Now we're going to cut a hole in the wool where we're going to place the zipper. So I'm using my zipper to measure and a disappearing ink marker to help guide me. You want the hole to be just the right size to fit your zipper, not too big and not too small, and also try to cut it into as straight a line as possible. Once you've cut the hole, remove the cardboard piece. It should be really wet and soggy, and then turn your wool inside out. We're now going to felt the inside. Before you start felting, you want to check to make sure your hole is the right size for your zipper. Now we're going to felt the inside of our piece by adding some water and soap and then rubbing it. Remember to felt the edges of your piece where you made the incision. It should look something like this when you're done. Now you're going to flip your piece back to the right side and use a towel to remove as much water as you can. Now we're going to do some additional felting by rolling our piece in a bamboo mat or some bubble wrap. This is just a mat that you use for sushi. You want to roll your piece up in different directions and on all sides and just roll it with your hands. Then press the piece on both sides with an iron and allow it to dry. Once it's dry, you want to put a felting mat or sponge inside the opening and take about 1 gram of red wool and felt it along the edge of one side of the opening of the purse. This will become Dumbo's collar. Next, you're going to attach the trunk. Before you attach the ears, you want to fold down the corners and felt them down like this. Then attach the ears to the head. Then attach Dumbo's arms to the back of his head so that they just peek out of the front. Then take a little bit of pink wool and give Dumbo some rosy cheeks. Next, you want to cut 2 eyes out of leather into an oval shape and glue them onto Dumbo's face. Now we're going to sew on the zipper. First, pin the zipper into place and then sew the zipper onto Dumbo by hand, using some light blue thread on the front and red thread on the back. This is sort of difficult. You want to make your stitches as straight as possible. And then sew the inside of the zipper down flat into the purse using a whip stitch. When you're sewing this, you want to make sure that you don't poke through the entire fabric. You want to see the stitches only on the inside, not on the outside. So on the corners of the zipper, you want to sew in sort of a rectangular shape like this. And make sure you sew down the edges of the zipper on both sides. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Hit the red button in the corner and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on this keychain which accompanies this Dumbo coin purse. It features Dumbo's yellow hat and his little camera. Don't forget to check out BudgetHobby's Dumbo plushie. It's so cute and it comes with this little camera box. And be sure to subscribe to her channel. I'm sure you'll love it. She's an incredibly talented crafter and she makes really amazing, entertaining, and creative videos. Thanks so much for watching.